Hello again. All right, so this is the first video in response to comments on that previous video, right? And I'm going to respond to every single comment, so don't worry. But the first one we're going to respond to is talking about my dog, because this is something that honestly has really affected me. So I had it when I was back in the States. Obviously, I live in Nicaragua now, and I can't have a dog here. But let's see, I need to get into some back history in my life. Okay, so my dad died when I was 12, right? A couple years before he died, he got me a dog. And I think a part of him knew that he was sick and he'd been smoking for a long time and he was probably going to die. And he knew that I would really benefit from having this kind of entity to take care of and learn to be responsible and all that kind of stuff. So long story short, a lot had changed in my life, and Gully was kind of the last thing left from my father and meant a lot to me. And I have one of those personalities where I need something to kind of take care of. I find that when I have other people to take care of, I take better care of myself. Whereas if it's only my life on the line, then I tend to let myself down. But when it comes to my friends and the people I love, I'm so much more able to be there for them, right? So, well, I'm really babbling on here because it's hard to talk about. But I put my dog down. Ultimately, I had to make a decision, and that was that if I found somebody to take care of him, we're talking about a dog, 16 years old. I cooked his food every single day. Cost me about $300 a month to feed him properly because he stopped eating his dog kibble. And so I would cook him meat and mix it with vegetables and grind it up. And it would take like 30 minutes to an hour a day. So it was a big time commitment. And at that point, he'd also kind of lost his ability to walk properly. So anytime that he needed to go to the bathroom, well, I'd start the day off by like picking him up and taking him outside. We're talking about a 70-pound dog. And if I wasn't moving, I would have just kept taking care of him until I felt that with my care, that he still wasn't happy, right? Because the thing is, now I was able to, or back then, he required a lot of work, but I felt like it was worth it because he still had an appetite. He still had his doggy-ish kind of enthusiasm. He hadn't given up, if that makes sense. But Gully was really close to me, and there were times in my past where I'd had given him to somewhere else, and every time that happened, his health really, really deteriorated because I was his father. I was his family. I was the only constant in his 16 years of life. There was no other person who was there for almost all of it. So ultimately, I decided to put him down because I knew that if I gave him to somebody, even if they took the best care of him, he was going to die while I was here in Nicaragua. And I didn't want him to die feeling abandoned or feeling alone. And this is something that's really personal for me because when my father died, he felt abandoned. I abandoned my father when he was sick. I was too young to handle how sick he was, and I ran away. And so that's probably one of the things that has driven me to help other people is because I know that my dad had to face, we're talking about lung cancer, right? When he was diagnosed, he wasn't given very long to live, and he lived about 2 years, but the quality of life wasn't there. But the last couple months of his life, he couldn't talk, he couldn't form sentences, he was just a body. And I ran away from that as a kid, and I didn't spend time with him. And so ultimately, I believe that he died thinking I didn't love him. And I maybe he understood, but when you're sick, now that I've had experience with what happens to your mind when your body just starts to degrade, it's hard. And I think that's one of I know that I couldn't have known better, but that's one of my biggest regrets is that this person who inspired me, this amazing, amazing father, died and he felt kind of alone, And that's really sad. And so in a way, me deciding to put Gully down was kind of making up for that because I knew that at least that way, then my dog would die with me in his arms, like right there. He wasn't alone. I don't think he didn't seem that freaked out. I was just petting him and crying, and then he just kind of, fell asleep. And I know that it was the right decision. But yeah, that's what happened to my dog. He's dead now. So yeah, it's sad, but I've gone through a lot of that kind of stuff, and I know that it would have been the wrong decision to give him to someone else, because ultimately then he would have felt abandoned, and then he would have died without me there. And I already made that mistake with my father. I couldn't bear to make that mistake again. So, all right, that's the first video. Sorry about that kind of morbidity. All right, guys, see you in the next one. Bye.